Good morning from the beautiful Golden Gate Highlands National Park in South Africa's Free State. It's the first time we've stayed here and I've got to say it's really beautiful. It's the kind of place that we wish we'd had more days to explore. But in probably about half an hour to an hour we'll be heading off and starting our long journey back home. So stick with us, it's going to be good. Over the following 2 days, we will need to cover quite a lot of ground in order to get back home to Port Elizabeth. We've made our way all the way around the Drakensberg escarpment, and now it's time to hit the highways. But the Golden Gate Highlands is such a stunning area, and it would really be a shame to have come all the way here just to sit in a hut. So we add a couple loops to our drive, planning to pass a Drakensberg viewpoint, and then to go around something called the Blesbuck Loop in order to do some game viewing before exiting the park via the R712. From the Drakensberg Loop, we get an incredible view of the Sentinel, the Devil's Tooth, and the other peaks in the northern Drakensberg. And it was quite sad knowing that this would be the last of the iconic mountains that we'd be seeing on this trip. But hey, that's why we film our adventures, so we can remember them in detail forever. You can pass through the Golden Gate National Park without a permit, but you have to stick to the main road. Because we'd paid our park fees, we were able to do some of these game drives, and we're really glad that we did because we saw plenty of animals. The main road out of the park is probably the most scenic in terms of geology. The rock structures here are just incredible, but unfortunately we have to leave and we make our way towards the small but very touristy town of Clarence. Clarence is a high altitude town surrounded by mountains, one of the coldest towns in South Africa with regular snowfall in the winter, and I've always wanted to see it for myself. We don't have time to really stop in Clarence, but we do take a quick drive through the main street, and it was really cool to see all the small coffee shops, quaint old buildings, and plenty of tourist activity. The rest of the day's driving was incredibly boring and uneventful. This part of the Free State, from Bethlehem towards the N1 and then down towards Bloemfontein and further down towards where we'd be camping on the Gariep Dam, is just a flat expanse of farmland, known for growing sunflowers, wheat and other grains. We make a quick stop in Bloemfontein for lunch, but soon move on, wanting to get to the Orange River and Gariep Dam with time to spare before sunset. Suddenly we come over the crest of a hill, and there it is, the Gariep Dam. The Gariep Dam was built in 1965 for the generation of hydroelectric power and to better regulate the flow of water to the farms in the area. The dam is fed by the Orange River, which originates in the Drakensberg, so we feel in a sense that we've sort of come full circle by staying here overnight. The Orange River was originally called the Gariep River by the first inhabitants of South Africa, the Khoi people. The dam wall itself is 88 meters high and 914 meters wide and holds back 5.3 million megaliters of water, making it the biggest of its kind in South Africa. People living in the Free State have no oceans or major lakes anywhere near them, so they put their fancy boats in here, which I find quite fun. This being the dry season in Lesotho, the river wasn't flowing much, but when it does come down in flood, it is quite spectacular. We spent the evening watching the light fade over the dam, a great way to end the day. After staying in comfortable hotels and chalets over the previous 2 nights, it was actually quite nice to pop out the rooftop tent again and spend our last night camping, with the sound of the gas stove hissing away, fairy lights hanging from the awning, and a fire to warm our feet while we gulped down some coffee. It was quite nice to see the campsite in the daylight the next morning, and with it being autumn we got a nice display of orange and red. This is something I don't really get to see much on the coast, where we only really get 2 seasons, and where most of the trees are evergreen. We have another long driving day as we wrap up the tour, so we get everything packed up and make one last stop at a viewpoint before hitting the road. So we found out this morning that the place we're staying at actually has like a bit of a nature reserve section where there's some 4x4 routes, and we've just taken a drive up here to a little sort of peninsula that overlooks the dam, and the dam goes much further up than you can actually see, but it just shows the scale of the dam. But it's really nice to see it so full. It was overflowing nicely earlier this year. Unfortunately it's not overflowing now. I would have loved to hear that thunder and see all that water coming down, but unfortunately that's not to be. But either way, good to see that this water's nice and full, and that bodes well for the next few years of farming in South Africa, because this particular dam feeds such a big portion of the country's sort of farming community. We rely pretty heavily on rain up in Lesotho and in the mountains for some of the dry areas, sort of away from those catchment areas, and the government sort of 30, 40, 50 years ago put a lot of effort into making sure that they create the infrastructure, dams, tunnels that send this water into other rivers, things like that. So yeah, good to be here, good to see this marvel of engineering, but it's time to head home. Home stretch today as we cover the last 480 kilometers en route to our home on the coast. This will be a far more interesting drive as we descend down a number of mountain passes and lose altitude along the way. The Orange River marks the border between the Free State and the Eastern Cape, and as we drive over the dam wall, we cross back into my home province. And that's where we're going to end the episode and the series. It's been a proper adventure, and I hope you've enjoyed every moment of it. Please make sure to subscribe for future episodes, as we have plenty in the pipeline. For one, I got a bunch of new bits and pieces for my Hilux, and we have to fit everything, so you'll be able to follow along with that experience. And then we'll be heading through 5 different Southern African countries on a 17-day 8,000 kilometer journey through some of the most mind-blowing locations this continent has to offer. I'll leave you with these scenes to get your mouth watering, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.